Commander Varix of the Thilasian Empire stood on the bridge of the warship Inevitable Conquest, watching as the blue-green planet grew larger in the viewscreen. Earth, a primitive backwater world ripe for colonization according to their scouts. The reports claimed these humans were fractious and technologically inferior, just beginning to explore their own solar system. Preparations complete, Commander, reported Lieutenant Krylex, the ship's tactical officer. Invasion force primed for deployment. Our cloaking systems have masked our approach completely. Varix nodded, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. His exoskeleton gleamed under the ship's lighting, polished to perfection for this historic moment. The conquest of Earth would elevate him to the Imperial Council. Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Deploy scout teams to these 3 metropolitan centers. The holographic display highlighted New York, Tokyo, and London, population centers their intelligence suggested were critical to human governance. 12 scout ships detached from the mothership, their sleek forms disappearing into Earth's atmosphere. Scout Team Alpha reporting successful landing, came the first transmission. No resistance detected. Local military completely unaware of our presence. Similar reports followed from the other teams. Varix felt the intoxicating thrill of imminent victory. The Thilasian Empire had conquered 37 worlds in the last century alone. Earth would be a minor addition, barely a footnote in their glorious expansion. Begin Phase 2, he commanded. Deploy the neutralization field. This was standard procedure, a quantum field that would disable all electronic technology within a 1,000-kilometer radius of each landing zone. It had broken the will of countless species before, reducing technologically dependent civilizations to primitive states within minutes. Field deployed, Commander, reported his science officer, Nyrex. Complete electronic shutdown should commence in 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. Report, Varix demanded. Nyrex frantically manipulated the control console. Impossible. The field is active, but human electronics remain functional. The communication officer interrupted. Commander, Scout Team Alpha is reporting something strange. Human devices are adapting to our field. The view screen switched to a feed from the ground team. The Thilasian soldiers moved cautiously through what appeared to be a research facility. Human scientists weren't panicking. They were actively monitoring the invaders on their still-functioning screens. Their technology shouldn't be capable of this, Nyrex stammered. These readings suggest quantum shielding capabilities we didn't detect. Commander. The communication officer's voice rose in alarm. We're being scanned. Multiple targeting systems locking onto our position. Varix's antennae twitched in disbelief. Impossible. We're under stealth protocols. Incoming transmission from the planet's surface, reported the officer. A human face appeared on screen, calm, composed, wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. Thilasian vessel. The human spoke in perfect galactic standard. This is General Axiom Valerian of the Earth Defense Initiative. Your incursion has been detected and classified as hostile. You have precisely 30 seconds to power down your weapon systems and prepare for boarding, or we will be forced to demonstrate our defensive capabilities. The bridge fell silent. Varix felt his exoskeleton grow cold with the first tendrils of fear. This wasn't at all what the reports had promised. Preposterous. Varix sputtered, regaining his composure. This is clearly a primitive bluff. Scan for weapon signatures. Krylex complied, antennae twitching nervously as data streamed across his console. Commander, I'm detecting thousands of orbital defense platforms. They weren't there moments ago. That's impossible. Varix slammed his armored fist against his command chair. Our preliminary scans showed no such defenses. The human on screen, General Valerian, smiled thinly. 20 seconds, Commander. Perhaps you'd like to know that we've been aware of your species for decades. The scout you sent 15 cycles ago. We captured it intact. Varix felt his second heart nearly stop. That classified reconnaissance mission had been logged as lost to a cosmic anomaly. 10 seconds, continued Valerian. By the way, your ground teams have already been contained. The tactical display confirmed this nightmare. All 12 scout ships now appeared as stationary dots, surrounded by rapidly converging human forces. "Commander," whispered Nyrex, "their technology. It's not registering properly in our systems. I'm detecting energy signatures that shouldn't be possible for." 5 seconds. "Stand down, weapons," Varix ordered, his imperial bravado crumbling. "Open communication channels." "A wise decision." Valerian nodded. "Now about those boarding parties." Within minutes, the inevitable conquest shuddered as magnetic clamps attached to the hull. Through the viewports, Varix could see dozens of sleek, black vessels that had seemingly materialized from nowhere. Their design was unlike anything in the Thalian database: angular, predatory, and undeniably advanced. The airlock cycled open. 10 humans entered the bridge, wearing powered exoskeletons that made them tower over the Thalian crew. Their weapons remained holstered, a calculated insult suggesting they didn't consider the aliens a threat. A female human stepped forward, her armor adorned with additional insignia. "Commander Varix, I'm Colonel Lyra Novastorm, Earth Defense Initiative. You seem surprised to see us." "How do you know my name?" Varix demanded. "We know everything about the Thalian Empire," she replied, removing her helmet to reveal piercing eyes and a neural interface embedded at her temple. "Your invasion protocols, ship schematics, even your personal service record. We've had decades to prepare specifically for you." Krylex chittered anxiously. "Commander, these humans have quantum-encrypted neural links. Their battle armor incorporates technology similar to our Phase 7 prototypes." "Phase 10, actually," corrected Colonel Novastorm. "We improved on your designs." Varix's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Impossible. We are the superior species. The Empire spans half the galaxy. And yet here we are." She gestured around the bridge. "Barely 2 hours after your arrival, with your invasion force captured and your flagship under our control." She approached Varix's command station, activating a holographic display. "Perhaps you'd like to see what's happening on your homeworld right now." The display showed the Thalian capital city, and hovering above it, unmistakably human vessels. "That's not possible," Varix whispered. "This is a fabrication. I assure you it's quite real," Novastorm replied. "We've known about your invasion plans for years. While you were preparing to colonize Earth, we were establishing a presence throughout your empire. Quite neighborly of us to return your visit, wouldn't you say?" "You expect me to believe humans have secretly infiltrated the Empire?" Varix scoffed, but uncertainty crept into his voice. "Our borders are secured by quantum detection grids and patrolled by the Imperial Armada." Colonel Novastorm smiled, tapping commands into her wrist device. The holographic display expanded, showing dozens of human outposts throughout the Thalian territory. "Your quantum grids have a fundamental flaw in their phase harmonics," she explained casually. "As for your Armada, they're excellent at stopping conventional approaches. We simply didn't use conventional methods." A new human entered the bridge, older, with silver hair and wearing a lab coat rather than combat armor. "Fascinating vessel design," he remarked, examining the control systems. "Though your power distribution matrix is terribly inefficient." "Commander Varix, meet Dr. Orion Blackwell," Novastorm introduced. "He reverse-engineered your faster-than-light drive from the scout ship we captured. Then he improved it by about 340% efficiency." The doctor nodded modestly. "Your propulsion theory is sound, just limited by your understanding of dimensional folding. Once we identified the constraint variables in your equations, the solution was rather elegant." Varix's antennae drooped in shock. That's theoretically impossible. Our greatest minds have worked on those equations for centuries." "Yes, well," Dr. Blackwell shrugged. "Human minds work differently. We've had to evolve quickly, you see. While most spacefaring species developed in relatively stable environments, Earth tried to kill us every step of the way. Supervolcanoes, ice ages, asteroids, pandemic diseases, Surviving here required adaptability above all else. Meanwhile, Colonel Novastorm's team had efficiently disarmed and contained the Thalassian crew. The aliens watched in stunned silence as humans operated their systems with casual familiarity. "Your invasion force on Earth has been completely neutralized," Novastorm informed Varix. "No casualties on either side, which is our preference." Varix struggled to comprehend this disaster. If you possess such technological superiority, why didn't you join the Galactic Council? Why maintain the facade of a primitive world? "Strategic advantage," she replied simply. "For the same reason a poker player doesn't reveal their hand prematurely. We've been observing galactic politics for decades. The Council's treatment of lesser species left much to be desired." Dr. Blackwell cleared his throat. "We've also been monitoring your communication channels. The Empire has apparently lost contact with several outposts along your eastern border. They're diverting ships from your home defense fleet to investigate." "Perfect timing." Novastorm nodded. "General Valerian will appreciate the reduced resistance." "This is an act of war," Varix declared, struggling against his restraints. "The full might of the Thalassian Empire will descend upon your world." "No," Novastorm corrected. "This is a controlled response to your unprovoked invasion attempt." As for the Empire's might, she projected another image, the Thalassian Imperial Palace, where human delegates appeared to be meeting with the Emperor himself. "While you were preparing to conquer Earth, our diplomatic team was negotiating directly with your Emperor. He's quite displeased about this unauthorized invasion, especially since it violates the non-aggression agreement he just signed." Varix stared in disbelief. His career, his future, his very understanding of galactic hierarchy, all collapsing in real time. "The truth, Commander," Dr. Blackwell said gently, "is that humanity doesn't want war with the Thalassians. We simply insist on being treated as equals." "How?" Varix whispered. "How did we not know?" "Because," Novastorm answered, "humans are very, very good at keeping secrets." The Imperial shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying Varix and a small contingent of his officers under heavy guard. Through the viewport, he watched the landscape of North America unfold beneath them, a continent that, according to their intelligence, should have been dotted with primitive cities and rudimentary infrastructure. Instead, he witnessed a seamless blend of nature and technology, glittering metropolises with spires that rivaled imperial architecture, vast preserved wilderness areas, and transportation systems that seemed to flow like living organisms through the landscape. "Impressive, isn't it?" asked Dr. Blackwell, who had accompanied them for the journey. "Most of our advanced infrastructure is partially phased into subdimensions, visible when needed, otherwise existing harmoniously with the natural environment." The shuttle banked toward what appeared to be a mountain range, then passed straight through an illusory facade into a massive hangar carved within. Hundreds of vessels were docked inside, many human-designed, but others clearly from various galactic civilizations. "Welcome to Nexus 1, Colonel Novastorm announced as they disembarked. "Earth's primary diplomatic and defense headquarters." Varix and his officers were escorted through corridors bustling with activity. Humans worked alongside species that even the well-traveled commander couldn't identify. Holographic displays tracked movements throughout the galaxy with real-time precision that exceeded Imperial capabilities. They entered a vast circular chamber where a diverse council appeared to be in session. At the center stood General Valerian, conferring with representatives from at least a dozen species, including, shockingly, a hive matriarch of the Texandori, longtime rivals of the Thalassian Empire. "This is impossible," whispered Krylex. "The Exandori don't negotiate with anyone." "They do with us," Novastorm replied, "after we help them cure the genetic plague your empire quietly engineered for their core worlds." Valerian noticed their arrival and approached. Despite his authority, he moved with the relaxed confidence of someone accustomed to power, but not obsessed with displaying it, unlike Thalassian commanders who adorned themselves with conquest medallions and rank insignia. "Commander Varix," he greeted, I trust Colonel Novastorm has been hospitable. If by hospitable you mean keeping us in restraints and dismantling our invasion force, then yes, Varix replied bitterly. The restraints are a precaution that can be removed once we establish trust, Valerian explained. As for your invasion force, you gave us little choice. However, your soldiers are being treated well. Some have even expressed interest in our cultural exchange program. The general led them to a separate briefing room, where a holographic display showed the galactic map, but with detail and accuracy far beyond imperial cartography. For centuries, humanity suspected we weren't alone in the universe, Valerian began. When definitive proof came 70 Earth years ago, a crashed scout ship from the Meridian Collective, we faced a choice: announce ourselves to the galaxy or prepare quietly. You chose deception, Varix accused. We chose survival, Valerian corrected. We studied the recovered technology, monitored interstellar communications, and learned about the major powers. What we discovered wasn't encouraging, particularly regarding the Thalassian Empire's treatment of lesser species. The display shifted to show historical footage of Thalassian conquest campaigns, subjugation of worlds, exploitation of resources, enslavement of populations deemed primitive. So instead of revealing ourselves, continued Valerian, we accelerated our technological development in secret, established outposts beyond our solar system, and began forming alliances with species who shared our concerns about imperial expansion. Nyrex, the science officer, couldn't contain his curiosity. How did you manage to advance so quickly? The technological gap you've overcome should have taken centuries. Several factors, Dr. Blackwell answered. First, human creativity thrives under pressure. Second, we weren't constrained by established scientific orthodoxy. We approached alien technology with fresh perspectives. Finally, we had excellent teachers. He gestured toward a side door, which opened to reveal a being Varix recognized with shock. A progenitor, one of the ancient species thought to have ascended beyond physical form millennia ago. The progenitors never left the galaxy, Valerian explained. They merely stepped back to observe. When they detected our potential, some chose to guide us. The progenitors are a myth, Varix protested weakly, though the evidence floated before him. A luminescent being whose form shifted between solid and energy, ancient eyes regarding him with what might have been amusement. I assure you, Commander, I am quite real, the progenitor spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. Though we prefer the term custodians, we have watched the younger races for millennia, intervening only rarely. Valerian nodded respectfully to the entity. The custodians approached us after observing our response to the Meridian vessel. They were impressed by our decision to study rather than fear, to prepare rather than panic. They helped accelerate your development, Varix realized, pieces falling into place. That's how you achieved in decades what should have taken centuries. They shared knowledge, corrected Dr. Blackwell, but the implementation was entirely human. The custodians have strict protocols about technological advancement. They offer guidance only to species who demonstrate both capability and ethical consideration. The custodian's form pulsed gently. Your empire was once offered similar guidance, Commander. 5 of your generations ago, when your people first achieved interstellar travel, your leaders chose conquest over collaboration. This revelation struck Varix like a physical blow. Nothing in imperial history mentioned contact with progenitors. Such knowledge would have been deemed sacred. Why reveal all this to me? He asked finally. I am your prisoner, an enemy commander. General Valerian exchanged glances with Colonel Novastorm before answering. Because you're about to become extremely valuable. Commander Varix, your Emperor has requested your presence in an emergency session of the Imperial Council. The holographic display shifted to show a real-time transmission from the Thalassian throne world. The Emperor himself, Supreme Sovereign Dorix, appeared flanked by his advisors, and shockingly, several human diplomats. Commander Varix, The Emperor's voice carried the formal tones of imperial authority. Your unauthorized invasion attempt has created a diplomatic crisis of unprecedented scale. You will return immediately to face imperial judgment. Unauthorized. Verix sputtered. But the Council approved. The Council approved reconnaissance, not invasion. The Emperor cut him off. And certainly not against a civilization with whom we now have formal diplomatic relations. The humans have graciously agreed to treat this as an isolated incident rather than an act of war, provided you cooperate fully with their terms. Colonel Novastorm deactivated Verix's restraints with a subtle gesture. Those terms are simple, Commander. You will accompany a joint human-Thalassian delegation to your homeworld, where you'll participate in establishing new protocols for interspecies contact. And if I refuse? Verix challenged, though with significantly less conviction than before. The custodian's form brightened. Then you would miss witnessing the dawn of a new galactic era, Commander. Your empire stands at a crossroads. Continue down the path of conquest and face unified opposition, or embrace collaboration and achieve greatness beyond your imperial ambitions. General Valerian stepped forward. Earth doesn't want war, Commander. We could have struck preemptively at any point in the past decades. Instead, we waited, hoped your civilization might change course naturally. Until you forced our hand, added Novastorm. Verix looked around the chamber, at the humans with their adaptable technology, at the custodian with its ancient wisdom, at his own officers whose expressions reflected his own turmoil of confusion and dawning comprehension. You could have destroyed us, he realized. Yes, Valerian acknowledged simply. We chose not to. Why? Dr. Blackwell smiled. Because that's not who we want to be. Humanity has its own violent history. We've stood where you stand now, choosing between dominance and cooperation. We've learned that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build instead. The custodian's form pulsed in what appeared to be approval. This is why we chose to guide them, Commander. Not for their technology or their intelligence, but for their capacity to choose compassion even when power offers easier paths. Verix felt something shift within him. A perspective that had guided his centuries-long military career suddenly seemed shallow, limited. The glory of conquest paled before the potential of what these humans offered. I will accompany your delegation, he decided finally, and I will speak truth to the Emperor about what I have witnessed here. For the first time since his capture, Colonel Novastorm smiled genuinely. Welcome to Earth's first official interspecies cultural exchange program, Commander Verix. You may just become the most important Thalassian in your empire's history. The Imperial Palace on Thalasia Prime had stood for 12 centuries, its crystal spires and quantum-locked architecture designed to intimidate visitors with its grandeur and permanence. Yet as Verix walked its hallowed corridors alongside the human delegation, he saw it through new eyes, no longer as the ultimate symbol of imperial might, but as a beautiful yet static monument to a stagnating civilization. The Grand Council chamber hummed with tension. High-ranking Thalassians from across the Empire had assembled for this unprecedented session, their ornate exoskeletons and rank markings creating a kaleidoscope of authority and privilege. They chittered nervously at the sight of humans entering their sacred space with such casual confidence. Emperor Dorix awaited them on a crystalline throne, his ancient exoskeleton adorned with the conquest medallions of 1,000 subjugated worlds. Yet even he seemed diminished somehow, his posture suggesting uncertainty where once there had been only absolute authority. Commander Verix, the Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber. You stand before us as both failure and opportunity. Your ill-conceived invasion has forced our hand in matters of galactic diplomacy, yet it has also opened doors we did not know existed. Verix performed the traditional prostration, though with less fervor than his lifetime of conditioning would normally demand. Supreme Sovereign, I accept full responsibility for my actions. Rise, commanded the Emperor. Your punishment shall be unique. You will serve as our primary liaison to the Terran government. You will learn their ways and help guide our empire into this new relationship. Murmurs rippled through the assembled counselors. Such leniency was unprecedented. General Valerian stepped forward. Supreme Sovereign, on behalf of Earth's united governments, we thank you for your wisdom in seeking peaceful resolution. Our civilizations have much to offer each other. The Emperor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Indeed, your diplomatic team has made compelling arguments regarding trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense. However, many in our empire question abandoning the principles that have guided us for millennia. Conquest and dominance are woven into our societal structure. Change is never easy, acknowledged Valerian. Earth's own history is filled with empires that had to evolve or perish. The most successful were those that recognized when adaptation offered greater benefits than tradition. A high counselor rose in protest. This is outrageous. We should be deploying the Imperial fleet to erase these presumptuous mammals from existence, not negotiating as if they were equals. Colonel Novastorm, standing at the back of the human delegation, stepped forward. With a subtle gesture, she activated a holographic display that filled the chamber center. It showed the Thilasian home system, and surrounding it, previously undetected, hundreds of human vessels that had been cloaked just beyond the Imperial defense grid. We could have chosen destruction, she stated calmly. We chose conversation instead. Don't mistake our preference for peace as inability to defend ourselves. The chamber fell silent. Your empire stands at its zenith, continued Dr. Blackwell, who had joined the diplomatic mission. Expansion through conquest has served your evolutionary imperative for territorial dominance. But the galaxy is changing. Other species are forming alliances. New technologies are rendering traditional military advantages obsolete. He activated another holographic display, this one showing various worlds where the Empire's recent conquest attempts had been unexpectedly thwarted. Those weren't coincidences, Novastorm explained. Earth has been quietly helping vulnerable civilizations defend themselves for decades. The age of unchallenged imperial expansion is over, one way or another. The Emperor's compound eyes studied the humans intensely. You come with threats disguised as opportunities. We come with reality, Valerian corrected respectfully, and with genuine opportunity. Earth doesn't seek to dismantle your empire, merely to transform it from conqueror to collaborator. Imagine what the Thilasian people could accomplish if your brilliant minds focused on creation rather than subjugation. Varix found himself nodding. His brief time on Earth had shown him technological and social possibilities that had never occurred to imperial scientists, not because they lacked intelligence, but because imperial doctrine channeled innovation primarily toward military applications. Supreme Sovereign, Varix addressed his emperor directly. I have witnessed their civilization firsthand. They could have destroyed my ship, captured our colony worlds, perhaps even struck at Thalasia itself. Instead, they invite us to join something greater than conquest. He gestured toward the custodian who had accompanied them, the ancient being's presence causing gasps of recognition among the oldest council members who remembered legends of the progenitors. The humans are not alone in their vision, Varix continued. They have allies we thought mythical and technologies we deemed impossible. But more importantly, they have a perspective the Empire has forgotten, that greatness can come from collaboration rather than domination. The Emperor rose from his throne, approaching the custodian with reverence. Is it true? Your kind once offered guidance to our ancestors. Yes, the luminescent being confirmed, and that offer remains open, should your people choose a different path. Emperor Dorix turned to face his council, his decision already visible in his posture. The Thilasian Empire has always adapted to ensure its survival and prosperity. Today we adapt again. One Thilasian solar cycle later, equivalent to 17 Earth months. Commander Varix stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned vessel Cooperative Venture, the first ship jointly designed and crewed by humans and Thilasians. Beyond the viewport stretched the galactic hub, a massive space station orbiting a neutral star system where representatives from 27 civilizations now regularly convened. "Quite a view, isn't it?" remarked Admiral Valerian, recently promoted following the successful implementation of the Earth-Thalasian Accord. "Hard to believe this all started with your invasion attempt." Varix's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was Thalasian laughter. "My greatest failure became my greatest contribution." The Empire's historians are still deciding whether to portray me as hero or fool. "Perhaps both," suggested Dr. Blackwell, who had joined them for the ship's maiden voyage. The universe rarely deals in absolutes. The observation deck filled with delegates preparing for the hub's inaugural conference. Species that had been mortal enemies now engaged in cautious but productive dialogue. Thalasian scientists collaborated with engineers from worlds they'd once targeted for conquest, their natural brilliance now channeled toward collective advancement. "The transition hasn't been without resistance," Varix admitted. 3 outer colony governors attempted secession rather than abandon imperial conquest doctrine. "Change never comes easily," Colonel Novastorm, now Ambassador Novastorm, approached their group. "Earth's own unification took decades of struggle. But look at what we've accomplished in less than 2 years." She gestured toward a holographic display showing statistical data. Trade volume between formerly isolated civilizations had increased 340%. Scientific breakthroughs, particularly in medicine, sustainable energy, and faster-than-light travel, had accelerated dramatically through collaborative research. Planets previously devastated by resource extraction were being restored through shared environmental technologies. "The custodians are pleased," Novastorm continued. "They've begun sharing knowledge that's been withheld for millennia, now that we've proven capable of cooperation." A delegation of younger Thalasians approached, led by Varix's former tactical officer Krylex, now the Academy's first instructor in interspecies diplomacy. They chittered excitedly about their upcoming cultural exchange program on Earth. "They can hardly believe humans enjoy spending recreational time in water," Krylex explained, referring to the Thalasian evolutionary aversion to submersion. "Yet they're eager to observe your beach vacations firsthand." "Cultural understanding begins with experiencing differences," Valerian nodded approvingly. "My daughter has been practicing Thalasian hive singing with her school's exchange program." Varix felt a profound sense of accomplishment watching the interactions around him. In the Empire's 1,000-year history, no commander had achieved greater impact, though certainly not in the way he'd originally intended. The ship's announcement system chimed softly. "Attention all delegates. The inaugural Galactic Cooperative Address will commence in 10 minutes. Please proceed to the Grand Assembly Hall." As they made their way through the corridors of the massive vessel, Varix noticed Emperor Dorix conversing with Earth's president and 3 custodians. The Supreme Sovereign had undergone remarkable transformation, his conquest medallions replaced with symbols of diplomatic achievement, his formerly rigid posture now more open and receptive. "He's considering abdicating in favor of a representative council," Varix informed his human companions quietly. "Unprecedented in our history, but the Empire is hardly recognizable from what it was 2 years ago anyway." The Grand Assembly Hall fell silent as representatives from 27 civilizations took their places. At the center podium stood a human and a Thalasian. President Ilara, Quantum of Earth, and Emperor Dorix of Thalasia, preparing to jointly address the gathering. 2 years ago, began President Quantum, a Thalasian warship entered Earth's orbit, intending conquest. 2 hours later, both our civilizations stood at a crossroads. Emperor Dorix continued seamlessly. "We could have chosen conflict, a path walked countless times throughout galactic history. Instead, we chose another way." Together, they activated a massive holographic display showing the newly charted cooperative territories, regions where shared governance, research, and cultural exchange were already yielding unprecedented prosperity. Today, they spoke in unison. "We extend formal invitation to all peaceful civilizations to join the Galactic Cooperative. Not an empire, not a hierarchy, but a true collaboration of equals. From his position near the back of the Earth delegation, Commander Varix, now Ambassador Varix, reflected on the absurdity of his journey. He had departed Thalasia Prime as a conqueror, certain of his species' superiority and his own glory. He had experienced defeat in just 2 hours, seen his worldview shattered, and emerged as something entirely unexpected, a builder of bridges rather than a commander of weapons. A custodian materialized beside him, its luminescent form pulsing gently. "Your thoughts seem contemplative, Ambassador." "I was just considering how fortunate my failure was," Varix admitted. "Had our intelligence been accurate, had we properly understood Earth's capabilities and prepared accordingly, then others would have learned what you learned. The ancient being finished. The cycle continues until wisdom prevails. It merely happened sooner this time." As the assembled delegations rose in unanimous approval of the cooperative charter, Varix understood something profound about both his species and humanity. True strength was never about domination, but about the courage to recognize better possibilities, even when they arrived in the form of spectacular failure. And somewhere in the depths of space, the warship once named Inevitable Conquest had been recommissioned as Fortunate Misunderstanding, a museum and educational center orbiting Earth, commemorating the invasion that lasted just 2 hours and the peace that followed.